Hello and welcome to another Mansions of Madness painting video. Today we are tackling one of the investigators, Diana Stanley, the Redeemed Cultist. This is a fairly simple model and there's quite a bit of sort of options you can take. I'll talk about a few as I go through what I did, but feel free to add or change things as you go along. The first thing I tackled was the skin, which I used Vallejo's medium flesh tone. Keep in mind this is a slightly different way to do skin than I have done previously. If you'd like to know another way to do skin, check out my hired gun video if you haven't already. After the skin, I tackled the knife handle, which I just used standard black. For the knife blade itself, I went with Stormhost Silver. I then tackled the hair, which I used Rhinox Hide. Next up, I tackled the dress, which is completely optional in terms of color. There's no strict coloring for what the dress should be. I went with a blue, but you can pick, of course, any color that you prefer. For the main body of the dress, I chose Caledor Sky. And for the small waistband that goes through, I chose Kantor Blue. I decided to make her shoes black as well. For the candle that Diana is holding, I went with a base coat of white. For the robes themselves, I went with Vallejo's just brown, but of course any brown would work here. Mournfang brown would be suitable, or maybe even Steel Legion drab if you wanted to look a little bit more leathery or light brown. As for now the washes, for the skin I went with Eflic Flesh shade. I used Nuln Oil for the shoes, the knife, and then also I watered down Nuln Oil to a very, very, very light consistency just to sort of pick out the melting wax on the candle and a little bit of the wick, but that's about it. The robes and her hair are Agrak's Earthshade. And finally for the blue dress, I used Drakenhof Nightshade. That covers all the washes, so let's go on to highlighting the figure. First off, the skin, which is going to take pretty much the longest on this figure. My first highlight was in Kislev Flesh. And my second highlight is Eflic Flesh, which is a Vallejo color. Now these highlights are going to look a little over bright at first. But that's okay, because the next step we're actually going to fix that so that all the tones sort of blend together. An optional step with the mouth is to go over with the medium flesh tone onto the mouth once again, and then use a slightly diluted wash of Caledor Crimson to make the lips look a little bit more pink. This is completely optional, as the effect kind of doesn't look that great front up just because she kind of has Kim Kardashian lips, but side profile looks perfectly fine, so this is really sort of an optional step whether you want it or not. You can leave the lips just as they are, and they won't be quite as noticeable. I use a technique called glazing, which basically is used when you have really bright highlights or something like that, and you want to tone it down so that they blend just a little bit better. So I took Seraphim Sephia, which is a wash from Citadel, and basically water it down until it's practically water, but it has some color to it. And you're going to do about 2 or 3 passes over the skin, just kind of lightly going over each area, and you're going to watch as the skin sort of turns a little bit more yellow, and those highlights will actually blend into each other. To highlight the blade, I used Stormhost Silver, and I just kind of picked out sort of a sharp edge to the knife. I tried to leave the center very dark, and then sort of one edge to be at least relatively dark, as much as possible. For the dress, it's just a few light highlights, first of all in Caledor Sky, just sort of picking out those big heavy edges. And then Caledor Sky mixed with a little bit of white, just on a few tiny bits of area to bring out some really deep highlights in areas. Her hair is largely going to be sort of the same technique. I'm just going to use the base Rhinox Hide mixed with a little bit of white to sort of bring a lighter color to a few strands of her hair. As for the robes, I'm just going over a lot of sort of areas with that base tone of brown that we had originally, and just picking out some areas that look like they would get some highlights. Finally, the candle itself. For the white, I just want to be careful and just kind of go over where you see sort of the melting wax and make sure it picks out a brighter white color rather than the washed over dirty white color that we had previously. And finally, the flame itself, I just painted with Flash Gets Yellow. There is an optional step you can take here. I decided to not really do it, but to go over with, you can use Seraphim Sephia and basically bring out sort of a light object source lighting effect. If you brush that over sort of her hair and maybe bits of her face, you can get sort of a nice soft yellowy glow going on from the candle. Lastly, I tackled the eyes. First I did Ivory to get sort of the whites of the eyes, and then just took a black and dabbed a small iris right in the center. And that covers my short guide to painting Diana Stanley from Mansions of Madness. If you like this painting video and would like to see more, keep tuned to this channel by hitting that subscribe button. Leave a comment below and let me know what you would like to see.